I want to talk about rugged flexibility and transition. I want to define what rugged flexibility is, give you a metaphor to think about, and then end with some lessons that we can apply, I believe, to the church context as we work with churches that are in transition, that are navigating their own change journey. What is rugged flexibility? And I heard this term in a book I've been reading lately called Master of Change by Stulberg. Rugged flexibility has two parts to it. The rugged part has to do with this idea of we who are involved in change initiative need to be people who are tough. We need to be determined. There needs to be a durability about us when we step into change initiatives and think about change in general. The rugged side of rugged flexibility is this gritty endurance that we bring to a situation. You could also say that rugged has to do with those core values that we hold near and dear as people and as congregations and as organizations. The flexibility, on the other hand, is this ability to adapt to your changing circumstances, being able to respond to circumstances, not react to them. It thrives amidst change. Rugged flexibility thrives. Here's another way to think about it. Things are in a state of disorder and they need to change, so you go into a state of chaos. Rugged flexibility then allows for a reordering of the way things were, as opposed to going back to the way things were after the chaos is over. And there are people that would prefer that we go back to the way things were, but that's not rugged flexibility, and that's not the type of change scenario or framework that we need to have in our minds. We need to create this disorder, which we may in fact have in certain situations, live with the chaos, and then learn what does it mean to reorder the way that we do things and the way that we show up in the world. Now I want to give you a metaphor that I think helps us understand rugged flexibility and the application of that. The difference between a road and a path. The road is a very distinct line from point A to point B. You know where you're going, you know what to expect. Not unlike more the traditional interim model, which is very much all we need to do is get a search team, go find a pastor, and we can just keep on going down the road. A change has happened. We know the road. We've done it before. Let's just go ahead and do that. That would be that particular very limiting approach to change and not rugged flexibility. A path, on the other hand, has this sense of kind of meandering along. There's no sense of, you can't rush a path like you can speed down a road and get to the other end. You have to go with the flow of it, and you have to navigate different environmental issues that come up along the way. Path is much more of it's a bit longer, but it's actually can be rather interesting, and you can learn some new things as you travel through areas that maybe you've never been before. And I think thinking about transition and change more like a path and less like a road, I find that helpful. All right, let me give you 4 lessons, ways that I think we can apply this rugged flexibility during times of transition as we're working with congregations. Number 1, we can use the Israelites coming out of Egypt, going to the Promised Land, I believe, as a story that illustrates rugged flexibility. They came out of Egypt. They had to spend time in the desert to work out some of the ways that they knew, that they were comfortable with. And they had one shot at going in, and they refused to do it because they didn't have the faith to believe that God could deliver them from their enemies. But eventually, they were able to navigate that path and get to the Promised Land where God had all good things for them. Second lesson is change and transition is not, we need to see it not as an acute event, but as a constant of life, as an ongoing cyclical thing. Okay, we've had a change, point A to B, good, we're done with that. We can get on with life. Life is change. Life is going to have repeated changes. The more ruggedly flexible we are, the more we'll be able to handle that. Third lesson, churches need leaders who model rugged flexibility in order to thrive. So you and I need to be leaders who are able to be tough, determined. We know our values, we know what our core is, but we have to be able to respond and adapt to circumstances as they change. And that leads me to this fourth principle. We need to work to clarify core values and those unchanging principles, both as leaders, but congregations need to know why they exist and what are those values that God has put into the very core of who they are, while at the same time adapting approaches, methodologies to reflect the changes that are going on around us. So I think this lesson is key for us to do the work of clarifying what's at the core and then recognizing that we need to adapt and change if we're going to reach the world in which we live and be effective as a church. Have a great day.